Welcome to Healthy Planet, the show for people who care about their health and the health of our planet on the ThinkTech live streaming network series. I'm your host, Dr. Grace O'Neil. Joining me today is Lolita Ayala, Executive Director of the Aloha Animal Sanctuary. Welcome, Lolita. Thank you for being on the show. Yes, tell us about how you got started in volunteering at the sanctuary.
Yeah, so thank you for having me and for this opportunity to kind of share our story of where we've been and where we've headed, where we're headed. So I've actually been volunteering with my family. I have two teenage boys, and my husband and we've actually volunteered since the very, very beginning of the sanctuary. It was actually all completely just vegetation and rubbish, on 2 acres of land. And there was a call out to the community for help and support because there was a need to actually rescue Haku, one of our residents. So that's where it started back in 2018, and here we are today. So
that's wonderful. So at first, you guys were just volunteers, and then when did you become the executive director? How did that come about?
So we were volunteers, like I said, since the very beginning. And about a year and a half ago, I started to, really volunteer with the organization just based on my background and experience and having worked in the financial sector for many, many years on the mainland, and my passion to really partner up with the community and nonprofits and, finding not only a community that connected with our personal family values. It was important for me and for my family to continue to give back. So, when this opportunity came up, not only to volunteer, but then also support, the organization, the mission, the outreach, it just provided an opportunity to just support in a different, capacity. But being 100% volunteer run, which includes, my role also being a volunteer role, it's important to us to, really not only support the community, but our volunteers bring, their heart and their passion and their gifts to continue to propel the organization forward.
So what kind of volunteer positions do you have available at the sanctuary for people who might be interested in volunteering?
Oh, great question. So we have over about 130 plus volunteers that help us run the organization. Yes. So currently we have, weekly volunteer roles where volunteers can come out and from feeding the residents to habitat care to TLC, which is tender loving care. Gaia, one of our residents who's a sheep, she gets her grooming and she gets her prosthetic on as well. So some of our volunteers, our TLC team, support residents that maybe require a little more TLC, such as that. We also have various remote, roles that are 100% remote. From our bookkeeping, we have volunteers to, social media, and all, development and grants and things like that. So we are specifically looking for, grant writers and grant managers, someone that can really help us explore, additional opportunities, in the community that'll help us, move the organization forward. But yes, we're always looking for volunteers.
So can you show us some of the animals that you have at the sanctuary right now?
Yeah, of course. So this is Anna. Anna and her sibling, they were actually rescued from a goat dairy farm here on Oahu, and they were the runts of the litter. Being the runts, they were just smaller in size, and, they were destined to be harvested because they, given the size, they just didn't produce as much as they should from, milk and, all for the goat dairy farmers. So they were actually surrendered to us, and they will live their forever life at the sanctuary. And we have a team of volunteers that care for them. So yes, so this is Charlotte. So Charlotte was actually we rescued her when she was, tiny. She was super tiny. One of the co-founders actually fostered her at her home for quite some time. She is super sweet. So She was, one of her, siblings that actually made it, given just the highly neglected situation that they were in. She was rescued, fostered, and she's so sweet. Every once in a while, she'll sit for a snack. She's very, very food motivated, super sweet. Yeah, but it's very neat to see, the connection that the residents make, with those that visit the sanctuary, but specifically Charlotte. She's just really sweet. Yeah, so this is Felicio. So Felicio was actually, he came to us as a just tiny little lamb. He was rescued from a local kind of neglected situation that through a partnership, we were informed that Felicio and his mom just were looking for a forever home. And, Gaia was also in a highly neglected situation where we believe she was tied to a tree, long rope, the rope tied, the back of one of her legs. And unfortunately, her back leg rotted off. So that's the one that I mentioned earlier that our TLC team really, not only brushing them and, their wool comes off and we just give it back to nature and, the birds will come down for their nests and things like that. But that was Felicio, her baby. So despite her neglected situation, she still managed to get pregnant and have her baby, who have been with us for now, oh man, probably closer to 2 years now.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't she a star on a show too?
Yes. So Gaia, Gaia has her own show. She is super famous. So if you just look at Wizard of Paz, it really talks about her story of, where the neglected situation she was in and, where she'll live her forever life now. But we did have Derek, who came out, specifically flew into Hawaii over the pandemic and was able to create a custom prosthetic for her. Initially when we brought her, when we rescued her, she does have her wheelchair. And it was really neat to see that connection that she was able to have with Felicio, her baby, when we first put her in her wheelchair. And, it was a learning curve for her prosthetic. But she's embraced it, and it's super sweet to see them both run around and just, play and interact with each other.
That's great.
Yeah. So if you just search Wizard of Paz, you'll see her episode.
Let's talk about what you have learned from volunteering at the sanctuary. I guess I don't know if you had previously known much about farm animals or that was a new thing for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was actually born and raised in Northern California. So I had a connection with animals, but I can, say growing up, just cultural traditions, things like that, heavily rooted in, just overall, consumption of animal products through, not only awareness of the animal cruelty, the health aspect of it. In my personal health, I decided to make a shift to plant-based, products. And now being a plant-based vegan family, for many reasons, we've created a new connection, not only to, animals, but learning more about practices that take place behind closed doors and the impact not only on the environment, but for us as well. And, the importance of living healthy. So growing up, I did, interact and was around animals, but it was in a different capacity where now having transitioned my lifestyle and my family's lifestyle to a plant center or only plant-based, consuming plants, that it's really shifted our perspective and our health too.
Yeah, absolutely. So your two children are also completely plant-based then?
Yes.
Wow.
We have two teenage boys. And they talk about it very, openly and confidently when, friends ask them. And, especially being teenagers, there's that curiosity of asking questions. And, it's healthy discussions they have in the classroom with their teachers as well. But yeah, as a family, we sat down and watched many of the documentaries as well. And it was important for us, and for our teenage boys to understand, that process and the importance of a healthy lifestyle as well.
So did you all switch together, or was it one person and then influence the others, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, my journey started with because of my health. That's where my journey started, and doing a lot of self-advocacy and holistic approaches, to really kind of understand my personal health, and in research and in meeting with nutritionists and personal trainers and things like that, I was able to really start the conversation as a family. And from there, the support was absolutely, it was there. And then we started to have more awareness and understanding beyond the health piece of it. And, like I mentioned, through the documentaries and understanding practices that happen behind closed doors. And we haven't looked back since. So
That's wonderful.
yeah.
So how many years has it been that you guys have all been plant-based?
Yeah, so we are close to about 7 years. Vegetarians before that for many, many years, and then transitioned completely plant-based for about 7 years now. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So do the boys ever feel like they are made fun of, picked on by their classmates, poked fun at, anything like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. They have not. They haven't mentioned, but we always, since the very beginning, we've told our boys that, it's a choice, it's a lifestyle, and understanding, what we consume and the overall impact to those choices that we make, as long as they have that awareness behind the why. It's okay to share and have those conversations with others that may not have that awareness of, the value of, plant-based, or even where our products come from. So our boys have not experienced that. It's been more curiosity from their friends. Sometimes the teachers will ask him, proactively. I've had some of the teachers, ask me that they always approach, one of our boys during lunch just to figure out what they brought from home, because they prep their meals before they go to school, and they're always impressed. The staff's always impressed and ask them, "Is that really plant-based?" And so it looks good, it's colorful, and it's tasty. So,
are there any options for children in the schools?
Unfortunately. Yeah, and unfortunately, locally, there is not any options for plant-based for students. Some of my boys do take their own lunch, but it is nice to see that there is this overall social movement and this new almost market emerging. I know that there's schools on the mainland that are focusing more on a plant-centered, at least K through 12 schools. There's more discussions, there's more options generally, at restaurants. So there's definitely an emerging market happening. But when it comes to local schools, we're just not quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully one day,
Yes.
we will get there. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, I'm confident we will.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Did your boys decide to do it themselves, or did they come to you and say, "Mom, I definitely want to do this"? What happened? How did that happen?
Yeah, so it was really in conversations. They would see and they would hear my husband and I talking about, just where I was at personally with my health, and the changes I needed to make to see how that would positively, affect my body, based on where I was at that time. And, of course, cooking and doing all that, then it was, how do we, instead of making two different meals, how do we slowly consider, and the boys were always open to it, they were completely open to it. And then when they started to ask more questions, it was important to us for sure for them to have the education and awareness and their own research to really understand the process of our food miles and the animal cruelty and neglect that happens. And again, the health aspect of it, of, growth hormones and how that could possibly, impact, based on what we consume. So it was very organic. It was very organic.
Mhm. So I know you guys are kind of running out of room to accept new residents. Can you still accept new residents?
Yes, yes. So we currently have at the sanctuary, we currently have 30 plus residents. We have a couple we're fostering. We have a few that we're looking for forever homes for. We're definitely at capacity, and our biggest challenge is we get requests on a daily basis. We have our rescue program manager that does a fantastic job providing resources to those that reach out to us. And we get requests, through social media. We get requests through our website of there's just significant need in the community, on the island, off the island, other islands. We do partner up with other sanctuaries on Big Island. That may at times be able to provide resources. And we have flown some piggies to Big Island that we rescued here back a couple of years ago. But we're definitely at capacity. And our goal, we have created an online community, a rehoming Facebook page where we kind of collectively work with a community that either is looking to adopt a forever family member, or they have the space or have the resources to potentially be able to provide some care for a potential rescue. But yes, we are definitely at capacity, hoping to grow in the future. So if there's land out there of anybody that is willing to donate, we welcome that. It would be an opportunity to hopefully continue to rescue and continue to make a difference for some animals in neglect.
I know that there are some criteria for land to be considered land that can have farm animals on it, theoretically.
Mhm.
Do you know about those criteria? I'm assuming you do.
Yes. So ag land, yeah. So it does need to be, depending on the acres. And so the land that we are on was donated by John and Melissa, and it is considered ag land. And there is certain criteria that goes into play in regards to where it's located and things like that. But yes, yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, because I actually, a while ago, I really wanted a pet pig. And then I went to the Humane Society and we saw a pig there and we were really excited and we wrote to them. But they said that you have to have a fence and it has to be like yards and yards away from the end of your property.
Yes.
And then I also know somebody at work had a pet pig. I mean, kind of, and they were saying that if it's not, I mean, the thing is that the pigs actually don't have a lot of protection too. Like anybody could come and shoot the pig and it doesn't have protection. I guess like the same thing that happened to the surfing pig. Like someone came and shot it and it's not really a criminal act or anything. So, I mean, how do you protect your animals from that?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, so our property is, like you mentioned, the double fencing, right? So we do have that. We have a great group of community members, just around the sanctuary that support us and, are big supporters of the sanctuary. So we couldn't do it without our, neighbors either. We do have a pretty tall fence that, is the perimeter of the sanctuary. We do have volunteers that are our overnight caretakers that are there in the event that something were to happen, either severe weather or in emergent situations, that they care overnight, for the residents. And we do have security cameras as well as a way to also protect not only our overnight caretakers but our residents. Yeah, and each of our residents has their own enclosure. So our piggies, we have 6 rescues. They have access to the lower pasture, which is all fenced in, and Gaia and Felicio, our sheep, they have their own kind of enclosure along with the goats where they can graze. So kind of keep them a little, we keep them separate, but at the same time safe.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's really important because you wouldn't want anything to happen. I mean, it's really sad what happened to the
Yes,
surfing pig. There's a lot of people who are not well-meaning out
it is.
there. Yeah.
Mhm.
So right now, what do you think is the direction of the sanctuary going? Are you working on mostly getting more land? I guess there's, obviously continuous maintenance of the, property for the animals. What are
Yes.
your goals?
Yeah, so right now our goals is definitely, sustainability for the sanctuary. So when we commit to a resident and having 30 plus residents, we're committing to caring for them until, they cross the rainbow bridge, essentially. From medical care to feeding them to, ongoing TLC and care that they might need. Supplements that they might need. So that in itself, it's continuing to have the financial stability through the support of our community members because we are 100% donation based. So our goal is to, of course, during COVID, there was definitely a shift in our donations, and our donations declined to where now we're able to open up the sanctuary and provide visitor days and outreach activities. So our goal is to continue to build on, our outreach and education so we can continue to provide for the residents that we have. Just feeding them, it costs about 25 to 30,000 a year. And that's just with basic, medical care as well.
Is that per resident or what is that?
For all the residents.
For all the residents.
All
Okay.
the residents. Yes, yes,
Okay.
for all the residents, all the 30 plus residents we have. Yeah.
So do you find that it's hard to make that money with the donations you get, or are you pretty solvent for that amount?
Yeah, I would say, we've been very, very fortunate to be surrounded by a community that not only comes out and supports us through visitor days and volunteer days, but we have some gracious donors that have, supported us in different capacities. Just in December, we had our director of development that did just an amazing job. As she was finishing up nursing school, she was also planning our largest fundraiser, which is our annual gala just this past December that we were able to, host at the Bishop Museum. So we feel so fortunate to have the support, from community members and just continuing to grow our network and our outreach and, continue to move, the mission forward. So very, very fortunate, where we're at. With the donations we've received, but at the same time, there's always emergencies that come up with our residents. Just in the last couple of months, the majority of our expenses has been medical care, unexpected medical care for, residents that have and rescues that we've had, come up. But our goal is to, eventually acquire more land. That's definitely our long-term goal. Our hope is, to be able to do that.
So with the emergencies, I'm assuming they're medical emergencies for the residents. Do you have volunteer vets that help the sanctuary?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we do partner up with some vets that are able to, provide, guidance. But when it is medical intervention that is needed, we do take them in and pay for the care of the residents. If it's antibiotics or if we need to. There was a rescue that we had of, a little piglet. That mom was hit on the highway and nobody bait it, but, the little piglet Sushi. So, getting him neutered and, and all the care for him so we can find him a forever home. Those are different things that we do pay as a sanctuary to make sure that the residents are cared for.
And how about people who might be interested in living on the sanctuary and doing it's kind of like a work trade program you guys have? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So we have currently a work trade program where, currently we have a work trade from Michigan who's with us for about 3 months. Prior to that, we had someone on site from Germany, and we've had others from various parts, of the mainland. Basically apply. It's a 3-month, essentially almost internship where they come out, they live on site, they work 25 plus hours a week in exchange for living on site. and they provide care to the residents. It could be, emergency situations. It can be, transporting potentially, some of the residents to the vet. There's just a little bit of everything, to really run the sanctuary. But yeah, this program is open to anybody that's interested in applying. You can just go to our website. We have our director of operations that oversees this program, but we have a lot of interest. If something like this was available, I always say if something like this was available when I was younger, it would have been a unique experience. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're out of time, so we have to wrap it up. I'm Dr. Grace O'Neil. This is Healthy Planet on the ThinkTech live streaming network series. We've been talking to Lolita Ayala, Executive Director of the Aloha Animal Sanctuary. Thanks to Michael, our broadcast engineer, and the rest of the crew at ThinkTech for hosting our show. And thanks to you, our listeners, for listening. I'll see you on March 2nd for more of Healthy Planet on ThinkTech, the show for people who care about their health and the health of our planet. My special guest will be Helena Lundblad, I hope I'm saying that right, from the Magical Creatures Sanctuary on the Big Island. If you have any ideas for the show or questions for my future show guests, please contact me at healthyplanetthinktech@gmail.com. Check out my website at graceinhawaii.com or Instagram at gracefulLiving365 for more information on my projects, including future show guests. I'm Dr. Grace O'Neil. Aloha, everyone.
Thank you so much for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. If you like what we do, please like us and click the subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button on Vimeo. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and donate to us at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.